back to Nap Trapped.
Hey, Sally, so good to be here, repping the merch.
I know. Look at us, merch queens. Stay tuned, everyone. We were inundated with requests for these caps, so I think we're going to be branching out for some merch. And speaking of inundated, we have been blown away by the outpouring of comments, subscribers, messages in our DMs of supporters listening to this podcast and it resonating with them, and that is incredible and so meaningful for us.
Global as
Global.
well. You know?
We've gone global.
So good.
But also it just shows that everyone is nap trapped. You know, baby sleep is a worldwide issue. You are never alone in this. And we are just on a mission to explain the why, to not be alarmist, to take the fear out of it. And I think that is what I hope we're going to do today. I'm actually very excited about this episode. It's going to be a short, sharp, punchy one. We are talking all things self-settling.
Self-settling, big topic, but we're going to break it down, give you the confidence back, and make it so it's not something to be feared.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of misinformation I see, particularly on social media. So I think before we dive in, let's be very clear on our definition, because context and nuance matters here. When we talk about self-settling in the context of baby sleep, we are talking about a baby falling asleep on their own. So they are making the transition from awake to sleep on their own at bedtime, as well as multiple times overnight. And this is where sleep training does come into play, because that is how you often teach and support a little one in learning how to do that. Now, two things can be true at once. There are absolutely babies that can be fully assisted to sleep with a parent-assisted sleep association, like being fed all the way to sleep, rocked all the way to sleep, bounced on the Fitball all the way to sleep, and you don't hear a peep from them all night long.
The rest of the night. Yeah, the unicorn baby. That's what we call
them. The unicorn babies. And then there are the babies that actually wake up between sleep cycles and wake up multiple times overnight, and it can start to become very unsustainable for families. I think that online self-settling is often used interchangeably or confused with sort of that self-regulation when a baby or a child is having a big emotional moment, hard feelings, tantrum, they've hurt themselves, complex feelings. We are talking about a baby putting themselves to sleep. And it's actually not just a buzzword that sleep consultants have created, or that we're selling you that you have this problem and we've got the magic snake oil that's going to fix it. I want our listeners to be able to understand why they might be experiencing these multiple overnight wakings, why your baby might need to be able to self-settle, and for you to be able to make an informed decision. So the nurse in me, and you and I just went through so many of these articles before we jumped into the studio to record. Let's go to what the evidence actually says. And it is called Childhood Behavioural Insomnia, Sleep Onset Association subtype. And this means essentially that the way a baby falls asleep is the way that they look to be resettled between sleep cycles overnight. It is as simple as that. And in our experience, for families that come to us who say, I've tried everything, I'm doing all the right things, and you absolutely are, and there is nothing wrong with what you're doing and there's nothing wrong with your baby, this is often the secret sauce. That we have a look at these variables that are happening at each waking, and it is about doing less of those to support your little one in putting themselves to sleep.
Yeah, literally giving your little one the opportunity to learn a skill. Because at the end of the day, I've never met a baby who doesn't want to sleep. All babies want to sleep and they want to sleep well. And if they are needing a little bit of extra help in learning this skill, then I think, we've got the tools to be able to provide that opportunity. So self-settling is a really great way to improve your little one's nights, naps, to get a little bit of extra sleep yourself. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be super scary. It can actually work
Not at all. I think you and I
beautifully.
get quite excited when we
Yes, we
when
do.
we go into this with a family because we know the light at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel, usually even just on night one, usually just at bedtime, is like it's life changing. And so what happens for a baby that doesn't yet know how to self-settle, or perhaps they even know how to do it at bedtime when like sleep pressure really is at its highest and all the sleepy hormones are pumping, but you still hear from them every 2 hours overnight, is that a baby, we all do, we wake between sleep cycles overnight.
Yeah.
Teaching a baby to self-settle does not stop that. And that's, I think,
Mm.
one of the common sort of fear-mongering myths I see online is that, well, why would you want to stop your baby from waking
Mm.
up? That's not
Yeah.
what we're doing. We can't do
No,
that.
no.
What it is that your baby is a natural pattern seeker. We all are. I like to know what's coming next. And so, if your baby has the pattern that they are rocked all the way to sleep, they go through a sleep cycle, they come out of the sleep cycle, they say, "Hey, I don't know how to do this any other way. Could you please come and
Yeah.
rock me back to sleep?" They
Excuse
usually say
me.
it with more tears. Yeah, hello, it's 2 a.m. Where are you?
Yeah.
And insert any parent assisted sleep
Yeah.
association and habit: rocking, feeding, bouncing, Irish jigging,
Yeah.
walking up and down the hallway,
Yeah.
popping the dummy back in 10 million times, stroking their
Patting.
face,
Yeah.
patting, all of these
Mm.
things. It's just habits. And a baby picks up on these habits and looks for them to be replicated for all of the overnight wakings.
Yeah, because the natural pattern seeker in a baby is looking for predictable patterns. And if every time they wake, they're returning back to sleep with that particular prop or association, then they just believe that's the way that it rolls. Well, when I
Yeah,
wake, I
this is
get
all they
fed
know.
or rocked or bounced to sleep. And because they're waking so frequently over the course of the night, they're moving from deep sleep to light sleep multiple, multiple times. And so during those sleep phases, they're going through a fragile moment. And when they move through fragile sleep or like transitional stages between the sleep cycles, they're often having a little partial arousal. That means that they're double checking everything is exactly the same as
Mm,
when they fell asleep. And if the way they fell asleep is not there when they have that little partial arousal, so if the burb or bottle isn't in their mouth, or they're in a different space to when they fell asleep, or the
or if the
motion
shush
isn't
is
quite
turned off.
there. Yeah, that's a good one. That if that's not there, then their little sort of senses sort of switch on. So sight, touch, and hearing senses come back into play when they're in these
Mm.
moments. And if those signature associations aren't there, then they're going to think something is different, and then they're going to call out looking for all those associations to be recreated in order to fall back to sleep. So essentially, what we want to encourage families to think about is if their little one is waking multiple times over the course of the night or has really short naps and is unable to link their sleep cycles, is to look at the way their little one is falling asleep
Mm.
and sort of recognizing, is there a pattern here of it being parent led, or something that you're doing in order to help them fall asleep? And are they being returned back to sleep in that same way? And is there a need to maybe consider thinking about offering an opportunity to self-settle rather than be reliant on you in order to get them back off to sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the foundations of baby sleep are still incredibly critical. So we're talking getting on an age appropriate schedule, making sure your day
Mm,
calories are ample, that
spot
they're in
on.
all the right places, that your baby has had enough time to wriggle and exert some energy down on the mat, that their sleep environment is conducive to great sleep. All the things
Yep.
that as adults we can control in this
Mm,
to set the stage for success.
yep.
Because then what that does is it actually makes the sleep training, it's not the main event.
No,
For
it's
me, I
not.
always tell families, I'm like, I get why it feels like that. And usually there is some crying, whether you're in the room, out of the room. Uh, when you are making change, chances are your baby is going to cry. But our job as sleep consultants is to look at this holistically. What is
Yeah.
actually causing what? And if it is common, and it does, it often boils down to, by the time we've tidied everything else up, there is a sleep association that is
Yeah.
causing multiple overnight wakings, is that we go into the night with a very clear plan of how to do this. And if we have our ducks in a row from the day work, we minimize tears before we've even started.
Yeah.
And
That's
once
right.
you see your baby do it at bedtime, and then, instead of having a false start after 45 minutes, oh my goodness, they slept 3 hours, your confidence in their ability to do that goes sky high so that you can confidently continue on consistently overnight. And I think something I also see often in my comments online is that my baby knows how to self-settle at bedtime. They put themselves to sleep. I don't have to do anything, but they're still waking every 1 to 2 hours overnight. Let's have a look at the day. What could
Mm.
be causing this? But if it is a sleep association, it's a really good reminder that what you do at bedtime has to then be followed through for everything that is not a scheduled overnight feed. It has to be the same. So 2 hours later, 3 hours later, at 5:30
Mm.
a.m. when no one wants to be doing any kind of sleep training,
Yeah.
consistency is key, and consistency equals less tears.
Yep.
Your
I
baby
agree.
is not in on the plan. That's what I
Yeah.
always tell my families. So you have to show them that you are capable and confident and supportive. You will always be there for them, whether you're in the room or out of the room, and you will follow through so that the next night and the next waking, they're like, oh, I just roll over, I bang my legs, or I rub my
Mm.
head, or I suck my thumb,
Yeah.
or I find my own dummy and pop it back in. That's how they learn how to go back to sleep without waking for you to do it and crying for you to do it.
And self-settling, like you just touched on, can look so different for each baby.
Mm.
So some little ones like to have their comforter and rub that, and they're really tactile, and they'll rub it on their
Mm.
face or their nose, or they'll rhythmically bounce their legs, or they will jam themselves right up into a corner, which looks so
Yes.
uncomfortable, but they love the
Yeah.
pressure. Some will hum, and
Yeah.
it's just one of those
So
things where
cute.
your little one will find their own groove when it comes to self-settling, and it doesn't have to look exactly the same for every little one.
Yeah.
So
And for
allowing an
anyone,
opportunity, yeah, to
sorry, I didn't
find
mean to
and
cut you off, Beck.
no, 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 I'm just on a little roll here, but allowing your little one the opportunity to learn how to self-settle will often bring about this really cool new skill, and you'll be so proud of them. Like
Mm.
you'll be so proud, and you'll hear them overnight when they go through their fragile moments. You'll hear them sort of roll around and have a little grizzle for a couple of seconds and then put themselves back off to sleep. And the excitement that as a
But they
parent,
just
when
did
you hear
it.
them, they're like, oh my God, like it's better than winning. Well, I haven't won the lotto, so I'm not exactly sure how that would feel. But I would imagine, like, as a really tired parent, when you hear your little one have a little grizzle and then they roll over and take themselves back off to sleep in the middle of the night, it would feel just as good as winning the $1 million. So it is, and it's you are able to give your little one that opportunity to strengthen and develop that skill. It's
A
there for you.
skill that will not leave them. So
No,
when
it
you
won't
hit a
leave.
sleep regression, you
Mm.
hit jet lag, you hit sickness, you hit just whatever life throws at you, and you realize, oh my goodness, a few variables got added in. We're all only human, even the
Mm.
baby, as babies of sleep consultants, they still wake up
Yeah.
and, we have off nights. But you know that skill set is there. You have seen them on the monitor roll over, eyes wide open, and put themselves to sleep
Yeah.
and link a sleep cycle. You have seen them sleep 11 hours
Mm.
overnight without 3 feeds. And so your confidence goes up, and we're all about empowering
Mm.
families and parents, but the whole household becomes better
Yeah.
rested.
Yeah. Well, they
And I
say that
think,
there's 30% of all children will experience this sleep onset association or behavioral insomnia of children.
mm,
They will, 30% of children are experiencing it, which means that 30% of families are experiencing this as
yes,
well.
yep.
So there's a lot riding on
And it
sleep
talks
disturbance.
about how the answer to it is often behavioral interventions. And
Mm.
so what that is that's sleep training. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to just be, and we'll do a whole thing on sleep training techniques, but it doesn't have to just be controlled crying. It doesn't have to be extinction. I mean, you don't need a sleep consultant for, there's not much to it. But,
Mm.
there's many different ways. It is just doing less of what you are currently doing, but it's not necessarily something that this sleep association subtype, that this is a this too shall pass
Yeah,
moment.
that's right.
And so if you are feeling burnt out by it, if you're feeling exhausted, it's unsustainable, you no longer want to do all of those things 10 times overnight, then some sleep training to teach your baby to self-settle is usually the missing piece of that puzzle.
Yeah. And it can just
And
be
the
as
evidence
easy as
supports it.
as a couple of nights of offering opportunities to learn and practice in conjunction with having a really great sleep hygiene and great sleep schedule and so forth through the day. It
Yeah.
can literally be as quick as a couple of nights, and you can see a huge turnaround, and your days are suddenly looking a whole lot brighter. Your little one is a little happier. And, one of the things, Sally, that I often see or hear from families is when they're writing through their questionnaire, so their intake form, often I'll ask how would you describe your little one? And they often say very happy, easygoing, very adaptable, all the things. And then at the end, once they've got this little sleep skill there of being able to take themselves off to sleep independently and then return themselves back off to sleep multiple times over the course of the night, their mood and behavior changes through the day, so much so that their parents are saying, they were happy beforehand. I didn't realize they could be any
Yes.
happier. And as a
Yes.
parent, isn't that the most amazing feeling? Like having a super chuffed little one, like just at your feet, sort of.
And then you just move forward. Your
Yeah,
baby can self-settle. You don't have to think about baby sleep so
I know.
much.
It's sort of, yeah,
There is life outside of baby sleep,
that's
despite us
right.
wearing nap-trapped
Yeah.
merchandise. We're obsessed with baby sleep.
Yeah.
I think one of the great ways that you were just telling me that you'd read, that if you are unsure about whether or not perhaps your baby does have a sleep association that is linked to these multiple overnight wakings, is to actually write down a 24 to 48 hour sleep log. What
Yeah.
happens at each of these wakings? Do sometimes they get patted? Do sometimes you change their nappy and they get a feed? Do you pop the dummy back in? Do you bring them into your bed? And usually these patterns start to emerge and you can start to see, oh, this is where I could pull back. Probably don't need the fourth feed. We can do something differently here. Or you might think, okay, I know that this baby has that skill at bedtime. I'm going to be able to follow through because I've seen them do it. And this is where we sit in the parenting spectrum of what we want to achieve with our baby sleep goals. All that to say, there is evidence to support why sleep associations or parent-assisted sleep associations can be a root cause of multiple overnight wakings, short naps, assisted naps, chronic catnapping. And teaching your little one to self-settle, which is making the transition from awake to asleep at bedtime and so consistently overnight, and then we apply it to naps and linking sleep cycles, is a game changer.
Yeah. We're not making it up.
We're not making it up, no.
We're not making it up.
But you will hear us keep talking about it.
We will bang on about it.
We will fight
worry.
the good fight of self-settling. And we will also put the links to these articles in the show notes because we think it's really important that you make an informed decision about what you think might be going on for your little one, piece it together and do it from an evidence-based perspective.
Yeah, and they're really quick reads. They're really informative. It takes a couple of minutes, and I think it's a great way to sort of look at what's happening and, take the emotion out of it. There really is a scientific reason behind the wakings, and there is a way to move forward and improve sleep.
And it will even put your mind at ease that this will not cause harm.
Amazing.
Win-win. Everyone gets more sleep. Everyone gets to enjoy each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Well, I've really enjoyed this, Bec. I'm going to go and place some orders for our nap-trapped merch. What colours? We need to put a poll out. Drop a comment about what colour you'd like to order.
I think there'd need to be a black one, don't you think? I love my blue. I'm a blue girl, but I think there'd be a
Yeah,
few people that need
I went
or
with
leopard.
pink, which is kind of my bit of ocelot. I like that. All right.
Well, there's so many options.
We'll branch out to fashion design and happy reading and happy sleep training and self-settling.
Have a great one, guys. See you next time.
Bye.